Yo, guys, what's going on? Coach Jamie here, and I am so excited to have you here listening to my podcast, Make Time for Your Mind with Coach Jamie, where we will be talking about all things mindset, vulnerability, personal development, ways we can become better individuals. And sometimes in that process, we'll get heavy, sometimes we'll have fun, and sometimes I will be challenging your perspective. The goal, no matter what, though, is to leave you better than you were before you tuned in. So, with that being said, let's dive in. Hello. Again, I'm bringing back Doc Megan. That's what I'm going to call you. I like
Love
that.
it.
Doc Megan. Amazing human. I love her brain, and I love that we are able to just talk about subjects, whether we agree or not, and be super productive. So she's here again. And I'll let you briefly say who you are in a moment. Other than Doc Megan. But we're just gonna dive into just like some conversation on relationships and communication and intimacy and relationships and just see where it goes from there. And as always, if you guys like this, share this, comment your perspectives below. If you try something, if there's something that worked, share it with us. If you disagree, share it with us. That's how we grow. That's how we become better. That's just how change happens in the world, is by having knowledge, doing something with it, and moving forward. So, Doc Megan, go ahead and share a little bit about who you are, and then we'll get into it.
So excited to be here. Thank you for having me again on your channel. I'm with Golden Sheep Life Coaching, and I help people go from point A to B while building up clarity and strategy from B to Z so they can do it on their own, because life is beautiful, but life is also hard.
Yes.
So how do we navigate all that with proven strategies that actually work? So that's essentially what I do, and I'm excited to just get into it. And we always say this is a segment of let's go there, two brains and a cognitive space. So I'm excited to go there today with you.
All right. Well, let's go there.
So let's talk about talking. Why are we struggling in relationships to communicate?
Let's narrow that down.
Let's keep this episode under 5 hours.
I don't even know if 5 hours would cover it. Where do you, I'll let you kind of take the reins. Where do you want to start with this?
Let's talk about romantic relationships.
Let's do it.
A place where allegedly people are comfortable talking with one another, but why are we sometimes missing the mark here?
So good. I will let you go first, because in case people haven't listened to the other episode that we've done, which if you haven't, go check it out. We talk about red flags. But since you are the one that is in a relationship, I would love for you to kick this off and just kind of share your thoughts on why intimate relationships are struggling. Since you have a little bit more skin in the game than I do with me being single, but then I would love to be able to share my thought as well.
I think sometimes, and this goes with experience, right? You don't know until you do. You underestimate some problems that you don't have experience with, because before living it, how are you going to know how to navigate it? I think one obvious one for me in my relationship is cultural differences.
Okay.
Never thought that was an issue. From the outside perspective, obviously that would be a challenging thing. But I think communicating, even when you're both speaking with one another, we're not trying to listen to understand. We're listening to reply, and we're listening to argue back. And people think of arguing as yelling and fighting, but I think arguing is like putting your point of view in before even saying, is this where you're coming from? I don't need to agree with it, but this is your stance, correct? And we never check in. We never take that moment. So for me, I think that's been a challenging thing, is that we're not communicating, we're just talking. And if it's only limited to just talking, it's just a word. It's not even an exchange of word. It's just throwing words at each other. So I know that, like, let's use that example. Like, culture is a tough point of contention in my relationship, for sure. He was born and raised in Colombia. I was born and raised here in Texas. And obviously I'm Asian American. And so we come from very different worlds, though of course it intertwined to lead us to where we are now. But a lot of our conversations, to be really honest, I don't I don't think we're wanting to budge with one another, and it leads to really big explosive conversations because that's how I feel like sometimes we both feel like we're heard in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, it's not very productive.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
it's a lot, right?
I love this. This is so good. This is so good.
It's a lot. So I think how are you replying? I think that's a really big piece of this communication piece too. When we think of replying, we think of, okay, I hear what you're saying, so I can continue the conversation. But I'm not replying in a way that validates what you're going through, especially in a setting of disagreement.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we actually need to take a step back and have these tough conversations when outside of the disagreement space. Because I don't care about your culture. I don't care about your perspective. I'm annoyed at you. I don't care.
Yeah.
But when do I care? Let's have a conversation then. I think that's going to be more productive. You think?
When do I care? That's good, girl.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And that's real, right? A lot of people could be listening to this saying, wow, you're so culturally insensitive, blah, blah, blah. But that's a real challenge. We come from different worlds. And what is normal for me has essentially been challenged in a lot of ways. Tossing the ball to you.
Yes. Girl, I'm about to take a scuba diving.
Please.
I love scuba diving, by the way.
I know that.
Yes. Oh, I always say I was like, I am a level 10 kind of person. Like you don't catch me in a like floating on water very often. Like when I meet you, I'm like, hey, let's talk about it. Let's be as productive as we can. This is the first time that I meet you. Like people think I'm too intense, and that's partially why is because I'm like, I don't know how to ask you about the weather because like we're gonna talk about what happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Or why you think and feel the way you do about something.
Yeah.
But I guess a couple of things that I even want to point out there. And although I obviously I'm not in an intimate relationship to be able to relate to that part. For me, I think the perspective I want to come from is even the intimate relationships of those who know vulnerability that a lot of other people don't. So maybe that would be friendships, that would be like family members or whatever, right? So like that's where I'm going to kind of take this, but I think that this what I'm about to say also shares with the intimate relationship as well. I think we take for granted those relationships because think about it. They're our safe space because they know that side of us. So it's almost like not intentionally, we care less about them seeing the ugly sides of us. And so we put this happy face on for the world and then they get all the backlash. So I think it's like, again, unintentionally that we take for granted those relationships and we're not slowing down to be intentional on how we're pouring into that and genuinely being able to like sort stuff out because they're going to be there no matter what. They already love you for the things that have happened. And so it's more of our time and energy is going into elsewhere and they get the leftovers. I think that that's part of where that happens. And again, because that's where you feel safe, because think about it. The same like scuffle, we'll call it, that you guys potentially would have had that would have made you be like, listen, like right now, like I don't care. Like this is where I'm at. Imagine if that were somebody who was potentially wanting to do business with you.
Oh, that's different.
And now all of a sudden, this professional side comes out and right? See?
Did you hear that?
But see, now, why is it that person gets that reaction from us, but not that person that we're literally sleeping in bed with? You know, it's because, again, unintentionally, we take it for granted. So I think that that's something that we need to slow down and be better at is really embracing those intimate relationships in our lives. Because like, even when like, you know, the C word happened, when COVID came around,
the C word,
it was like, holy shit. Like, I just want to see my family and I can't even leave my house. I can't even go hug them right now. For a small moment, we realized how important they were. When somebody passes away, now all of a sudden we remember why we cared about that person so much, but why are we waiting for something to go so south before we'll genuinely invest into those relationships? We forget to. And again, we're human. It's not anything to bash anybody. We're all guilty of it. So I think that would be the first part that I want to mention. But then regarding the communication thing, all that popped into my brain, and I was intentionally trying not to go there because I wanted to make sure I was receiving all of what you were saying so I could listen
Yeah.
to hear and understand rather than just try to respond. Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights. There's a part in there where he talks about where on one of these like excursions he went on to just kind of find himself or whatever. He was in some other culture, in some village, whatever, and they're sitting down at this restaurant, and the waitress or something, the way she was like being flirtatious and the way she had her hair, makeup, smell, all of this type of stuff to try to get tips or to be flirtatious to get money. You know, like the one gentleman, because there was like the three guys, it was Matthew McConaughey, and then these two other guys from that village, whatever he was in. And they end up getting into this argument. And the one is like, how could a female sell herself like that? That's disgusting. Like, you can't carry yourself that way. The other one's like, yeah, but wait a minute. Like, if that's what she's got to do to pay her bills, right? You know what I mean? And so they're going back and forth. And Matthew McConaughey in this writing part, you know, said that he's just listening to it. And then finally he chimes in with his opinion on who he sides with and why he thinks that side is right. They both all of a sudden get super pissed at him. And he's like, wait a minute, what? And the guys are like, this is what you Americans don't understand. You guys argue on proving who is right. We do it to actually come up with understanding and a solution. So yes, it still may get heated, but if already you're going into that argument and all you care about is being right, your argument is irrelevant because you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Because that person is going to be hurt. That person isn't going to feel heard.
Yeah.
And then you're walking off with pride because you won. But did it really feel that good?
Right.
Because it didn't fix the situation.
Right.
So it's like, I have personally taken that in all areas of my life, whether it's coaching, whether it's me sitting down and talking to somebody about a debate, whether it is in an intimate relationship. Am I expressing this as a reason to be right, or is it to genuinely have a conversation to learn and to grow? And that takes a lot of heat off of it too.
Right.
But again, in the moment when you're emotionally charged, it's really hard to check yourself on that.
100%.
So I think it's just a practice of being able to slow down and remember like why that person is so important to you, rather than fixating on the heat of the argument and being right or wrong.
Recognizing that you are not ready to have this conversation
Yes.
is so powerful. Like, I'm pissed off right now. I can't really fully have a productive conversation with you. Let's rain check in 2 hours.
Is that what you guys do?
We should do it more often.
Sorry, I didn't mean to just say it to call you out. I was just like asking, like, I was very intrigued. Like, does that work?
Not as many times as I'd like, but when we do it, I think it does lead for, at least for us, it makes him be shocked because that's not my usual memo. Or MO, sorry. But I think it just, and even that's helpful because he's like, oh, wait, we're doing things differently this time. Right. And it leads to more curiosity. Like, why don't you want to talk about it now? Like, you're always wanting to fix it or talk about it now. And I think that's what we need to normalize as well, is that people who are confrontational, it's not that they want to fight. They just want to resolve the problem faster.
Right.
Let's talk about that, right? And that's where I come from. I don't want to fight you really, but I just want us to solve this because I love our relationship. But my method may not be as good as I think it is in my head. So one, recognizing when you're able to have the conversation productively.
Yeah.
And two, I think, like you said, again, setting the expectations from the very beginning. This is our goal. We're approaching this as a team. It's us against the problem, not you and I, and then the problem's just right there watching us laughing.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay,
That's a good analogy.
we're sitting down and we're going to talk about this because at the end, we want to come to a conclusion about how we're going to handle Christmas. Like, we're going to walk away with this. That's our intention.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we go down this communication rabbit hole, and now we're talking about why you didn't put away your socks and that you don't respect me. And then there's like, that's another topic, and it's unproductive because you can't talk about everything. When you talk about everything, you talk about nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So.
Couple things that, you know, I always have a couple things. I don't know how to just have one thing.
No, let's go.
One that popped into my brain was back in the relationship that I was in that was really, really healthy, and the way that we communicated. We had a silly code word that we would use. So if it was a moment, because I learned this, again, this also took a lot of self-work on my part. So I think that that's the other thing, is that it's so easy for us to blame our significant others or those people around us. but we also have to focus on what it is that we can control in the situation. And very similar to that, I'm a confrontational person. Like I have no problem like telling you if I'm not okay with something. But if somebody else isn't that way, that's not fair for me to get upset with them if they need time to process what the F is going on. If they want to emotionally come off of that, right? Like, there's always the phrase, never go to bed mad at each other. Sometimes you have to, right? You know what I mean? Like, because you need time to stew on it. And so I also, especially from other relationships, or the other relationship that I was in that kind of triggered a lot of this in me, is that like I needed an answer. I needed now. I needed validation. Like that was just like the way that I like showed up all the time. And so although when a conversation would get super heated and it would be better to be like, hey, we're not in an emotional space. Let's table this and come back in 2 hours. That version of Jamie was like, absolutely not. I don't care if that's what you want to do. I'm not about to sit with this in my brain for 2 hours because I want to know now. Right. But in that journey, like I was also able to reflect too, that even when I still wanted to be around them and feel close to them, even if it was through arguing, I noticed that I did have to learn how to make space to process for myself. So we created a code word and it was space nuts.
Oh.
So that was like our version of timeout. Like we're in the game right now and it is getting like scoreboard, like we're both losing. Right. We need halftime. We need a timeout, whatever. So it'd be like, hey, space nuts.
Right.
I'm gonna go to a coffee shop and I'm gonna get some work done. I need some time to be not around you. Like everything is okay.
Right.
Like I love you. I'm pissed at you right now, but I love you.
Right.
Space nuts.
Right.
I'll text you when I'm ready to chat. Please give me my space. Right. And then again, on the other side of it, because I was that person who was prideful and wanted things to be done now, that's on me if I don't have the capacity to do that. I can't blame my significant other. However, we also have to be cognizant of how other people handle things. So it's like being able to find a solution like, hey, right now, neither of us are winning in this conversation. What is something that we can at least do right now that can have us walking away for the time being, both feeling satisfied with how we're leaving this argument? Like right now we're disagreeing on this and we haven't come up with a decision on where we're going for Christmas, but what can we both agree on right now that we'll both consider another option on how we can make Christmas work?
Yeah. It's okay for you not to like your partner all the time.
Exactly.
And I think people misinterpret that and think that, oh, it's a red flag. He's not it for me.
The red flag.
That flag keeps flying in our house. But truly, it's like, oh, we keep having these arguments. We fight all the time. And of course, there's like so much context that goes into every relationship. However, we get into the space where it's like, I just don't like my partner. And yeah, if you're fighting, most likely, hence the fighting. And that's okay to like want to strangle him. Yeah. Not literally, but like emotion.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
We're not going to do any more episodes together.
No.
Because she strangles her partner. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm calling calls right now.
And all the nice things I say, forget it. That was my red flag. No, I'm just kidding.
It is okay to be pissed off and just not like your partner in that moment.
Yeah.
But if you love your relationship and you love your person, it's okay to be like, you're not my favorite right now, but the reality is we're both losing. I love what you said with that.
Have you ever seen How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days?
Yes.
There's a part when she's like, I love you, Billy, but I don't have to like you right now. And that's all that came into my mind, right?
Yes,
that like, seriously, like I do like that reminder. I love you, like, but I don't have to like you right now.
Yes.
I mean, I don't even like myself some of the times.
Oh
like
my gosh,
again,
yes.
we put our relationships on this ridiculous pedestal sometimes, And I think one other thing that I wanted to mention too, just as far as communication goes, again, like if he even ever listens to my podcast anymore, I don't know, I haven't talked to him in a while, but he gets random like quarterly text messages from me being all ooey gooey and thanking him for just being such a massive impact in my life. But my ex, like another thing that he really instilled in me and is actually something that I've incorporated into my coaching business, but also just the relationships in my life. He said something really profound to me one time. We all know the phrase actions speak louder than words, which is so true. But he would always tell me, what was your intention? So it made me think past that, because I kind of used this example earlier, right? Like if we take it out on our significant others because we had a bad day, or like say that I got rejected by trying to get someone to become my client, or I had a meeting fall through, or somebody said something really crappy to me on a social media post I made or whatever, right? And then I'm irritated. I'm feeling like a failure. I'm second guessing all of that, and I'm feeling like I'm falling short. And then now all of a sudden I get home and there's a sock laying outside of the laundry basket. And then I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Right? And it was like, okay, hey, Jamie, like, you know, your action is speaking louder than words, right? Like your energy towards me of being pissed about a sock hanging outside of a freaking laundry basket. Like, you're upset, but is it your intention to try to hurt me right now?
No.
And when they said, like, when he would say that, I'm like, you're right. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, today was a really freaking rough day. Like, he slowed me down enough to be like, think about like what it is that you're doing. Or another thing he was always really good at too is like, this is what I heard you say. You just told me that you feel some type of way about this, about me. How I interpreted that is that I'm doing something wrong right now. Am I interpreting that correctly? And then I'm like, no.
The check-in.
Right. I'm like, no, I'm just pissed. Okay. Well, so this is how I received that. Can you tell me then what it is that you really mean? So I think that that's something that's fruitful for anybody who's like listening. And this is, again, any relationship that you're in, but specifically those that are closest to you, those intimate relationships, right? Is to like genuinely like you start practicing that. Because if you can now be that person to, you know, going back to that red flag episode that we did, is like, you know, you can't keep judging somebody else for the environment that they're used to being in, but you can cultivate a new one. Right. And so he cultivated a far healthier one by the way he responded to things too. So these are also things that you could share and give these ideas to your significant other on what it is that you guys can do moving forward, but hold each other accountable by actually doing it like yourself. So don't wait for them to do it. Like if this resonates with you, where you can be like, hey, listen, this is what you said and this is how it made me feel. Was that your intention? Start practicing that, because now they're going to start doing that in return too.
And it buys you both time.
Yes.
To be like, okay, where am I really at? And you're looking at the other person, where are they? Yeah. Okay. And then it also gives you like even 5-6 seconds to de-escalate.
Yeah.
Where you were about to explode. For me, one of the things that have been helpful, let's talk solutions here. We know what the problem is understanding love languages and how the way you communicate violates their love language.
Yes.
For my partner, his love language, whether he admits it or not, words of affirmation. Culture, personality, whatever. But it's hugely culture.
That's mine.
And
yes.
Really?
Without a doubt.
Okay, I'm gonna text you a lot now. With like, yeah.
What would you think it was? Now I'm curious.
I think it would be acts of service.
That's my secondary. Yes, it would.
I'm so shocked right now. That's another episode.
Speaking and receiving words of affirmation is my main one.
What?
Acts of service is hands down my second. What about you? What's yours? Just while we're on the subject.
I'm a very tactile person, so gifts. Because
that's my least.
Really?
That makes sense. Okay,
Why does that make sense?
We'll talk offline.
I just think gifts tap into all of it.
Okay.
Like all the others. But anyways, that's all.
So with your partner being,
I think because he values words so much, what is said in these conversations, especially in conflict, violates my affection for him so much. Why does that matter in a moment of fight? Because you're vulnerable in that moment. You are protecting your own self because your partner is no longer aligned with you.
Yep.
And now if this person who knows what is vulnerable about you is starting to stab at the place that hurts the most, you're going to be on full offense because fight or flight, the brain goes into protective mode.
Right.
So it makes complete sense. And for me, that's words of affirmation is the least on my list.
Interesting.
And so I'm like, this is like, you're getting mad about something so stupid. And for him, those words bite. And for me, I'm like, it's whatever. But I think the love language is really important to understand.
I think again, like, yeah, being able to genuinely like constantly check in and know your partner, but also know yourself and being able to express what it is that you need. That's why I think that they like the app that they have for the 5 love languages. I've never actually used it, but it's like the love tank, and you can be able to send that to your significant other so they know. It's so interesting because I wonder if I feel like I might have talked this on one of my episodes. That book actually is the reason why I strengthened my mom is already my rock anyways, but that's actually what strengthened my relationship with her. Her love language is gifts. Mine is words of affirmation. Gifts is my least. Because to me, if somebody's giving me a gift, that's not love, because I now owe you something. So if you give me a gift, I now feel that I have to go buy you one. Or I have to now make it up to you because of that. Like, I don't know how to genuinely just receive that and see that as you love me and so you gifted me that. It's that now I owe you something in return. And so what was crazy is the one year my mom got us, like, and my sisters and I, like, an additional, like, card with money in it at Christmas. And after we had opened, like, our gifts and stuff, she brings that out, and I looked at it and I started crying. And I went into her room because Christmas was at her house, and I stuck it on her dresser where like her perfumes and lotions were. And I didn't say anything, and I left. The next day I get a call from my sister that my mom had called her and was super, super hurt because that card with the money was sitting on her dresser. And in my brain at the time, until I thought it through, I could not fathom. I was like, Mom, you should be grateful. Like, that's money that you're keeping. Like, you didn't have to give that to me. I didn't feel worthy of that. How did I hurt you? But to her, it was that I rejected her love because she wanted to give that out of love, and I didn't receive it. So like similar with what you were saying and with your boyfriend, is that with words of affirmation, for me, if I say something and you just don't respond at all, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, give me something. You're just going to leave me high and dry. This means you don't care if you can't even respond. I was thoughtful enough to send this to you, and you can't say anything in return. You can't even acknowledge my message. That's why Team Android over here. That's why all you Apple users.
You're an Android. It kills me. Oh my God. That green text message.
But this is why, like, I used to like despise even more so the Apple messages, because y'all can react to a message. I'm like, this isn't freaking Facebook. Respond or don't, because me getting a notification of you hearting my message and you not actually saying anything. Sorry that I'm not worthy of you to type out okay and you're just going to send me a freaking thumbs up to the message I sent you. You can't even make your own for me, right? Like, words of affirmation, I did not.
So real
like
talk,
that.
You would rather me give you a card where I write really nice things about you and about our friendship and all that
Without
stuff,
a doubt.
more than me giving you like
you could literally have a freaking Lambo sitting outside.
And
if you would give me a card saying that you were grateful for me, here's a Lambo, I will take your card and I will drive home in my own car. Wow. Because I would feel far too guilty to receive that gift. But those words, like, because also one of my best friends, her love language is physical touch, and that's my second to least.
Forgot about that one.
Is my second to least. And so literally, like, she'll come up and hug me, and I'll be like, they're there. I love you too. Like, I'm like an ice woman.
But usually those go hand in hand.
Oh,
so
but see, for me, you could be like, Jamie, I want to hug the shit out of you right now. And I'd be like, oh, I just got the biggest hug ever through your words. But if you actually hug me, I'd be like, I love you too.
And I love these episodes where our Let's Go There segments, because not only do we help each other grow professionally, but I've learned so much about you as a human. I did not. Wow, I'm so shocked. For me, just different perspective, which you'll be like, I still don't get it. I'll still return your Lambo. But I think a gift is just, okay, say you give me a sticky note, right?
Okay.
It doesn't cost much or anything like that. But I'm like, you took the time out of your busy schedule to drive to the store, to buy me a sticky note, to bring it here, to hand it to me and pick the right sticky note.
But wouldn't that be acts of service?
No, you have to spend money.
We are learning so much about each other.
There has to be some sacrificial resource given. I don't know, because that's.
So what if I gifted you a book that I already owned? Would that count as a gift for you?
But you paid money. You didn't steal it. Like,
no, like what if somebody gifted me the book and then I never actually at the end of the day spent any money on it.
Okay, so maybe not so much money as it is you're giving up value. There's some type of value, like a measured value. I don't know.
Okay.
So there's like quality time. You had to go physically to see me to give it to me. Or maybe you mailed it. I don't know. But we had to have some type of connection and communication, right? Even if it's like, check your mailbox.
So you found value in the value of an item that I gave you. Like you feel that like that's a piece of me giving valuable love to you by receiving a gift.
Right. And when you give someone a gift, you don't just say, here. You're like, oh, I thought of you. This book is really great. It changed my life. I really hope it does the same for you. That's words of affirmation.
See, to me, and that's where it's so funny because I was going to say that. I'm like, I will not. I am so quick to want to reject a gift from somebody. But listen, you want to buy me, you want to give me, you want to find on the freaking floor a book and you tell me I have something for you and it's a book. I will never reject a book. That is the one gift I will not. But because it's words of affirmation.
I think and then acts of service. I mean, the physical touch, I don't know, but I think that's my least.
I think somebody like, because even again, like I think acts of service is strongly like what I give and also receive as well. Because if you were to think enough of me to want to go clean my car out for me and like wash my car, that would mean more to me than you gifting me a certificate to go to the car wash myself. Because now I feel guilty and I feel like I owe you $25
Interesting.
for the gift certificate
Right.
to go do that. But if you'd be like, Jamie, I just love you so much. And you know what? Like, I know you've been really busy with things and I went and I cleaned your car out for you. I'd be like, that was so sweet of you.
Yeah.
So crazy how that's different. Man, maybe, how about this? Y'all drop in the comments your words of affirmation.
Tell us what you think.
And tell us whether who you agree with, who you disagree with. Because
Right.
guess what? We're not doing either of this to be right.
No.
We are doing this to grow.
Yes.
And we just got so much closer. This was great. This is great. Do you have anything you want to finish with?
No, I just let's go about our day, our week, thinking about how can we think about the person that we care about. How do they want to be loved? And how do we use that to our advantage in communicating in moments of disagreement?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, to kind of latch on to that, my call to action for you today would be go do something intentional with that person that you're closest with that you haven't actually spent time with.
Right. And it doesn't have to be your romantic partner.
Yeah, whether it's you send a message, you pick up the phone and you call them, hey, let's get something on the calendar to go do dinner. Go buy him a gift.
Yep.
If that's your thing. But no, do something intentional with that person closest to you that you feel that maybe you've taken for granted lately.
Who's your person? Who are you gonna go do this with today, or do for?
I love that because I was just about to ask you. So shoot, I didn't have time to think about that.
I'm thinking.
No, so this is good. I think for me, in the form of words of affirmation, I'm pretty good at just randomly reaching out and sending a gratitude message to somebody. A super heartfelt one. And actually, it's really funny too because at the gym that I work out at, it became an unexpected New Year's goal, resolution, intention, whatever for the year. I'll be like, hey, it's been like 3 days. I forgot to tell you I'm really grateful for this place and for your coaching. I say that all the time. And like now it's become a joke and everybody laughs. But now who is the person closest in my life?
Or just someone that, as you said, that you haven't checked in a while and showed some affection.
I think it's going to be one of my sisters.
Okay.
Because I love them dearly, but we love each other from a distance. And I feel I've definitely played a big part in contributing to the distance between us. And so that is somebody who deserves love that is close to me that I'm not near close to anymore, but would very much feel the love and gratitude for receiving. So one of my sisters.
Yeah. And sometimes I think what stops us from doing what we need to do in this sense is that if we can't do it fully all the way, right? We just don't do it. We're like, so for example, the person that came to my mind as I was buying myself time asking you that is my grandma.
Yeah.
She has limited time. Her health is declining. She's still very healthy, but still it's not what it used to be. But her love language, I'm pretty sure, is quality time. And she lives in another city, so I can't be there. So I could call, but I'm like, I don't want to call. She wants me there, so I don't call. But I called her for like
maybe while you're driving home.
Yeah, a 10-minute call from her. She called my mom the other day and was like, oh my God, we had the best conversation. Like it was awesome. She was laughing, and my mom said, you need to call her more. And I need to call her more. So
I think that's beautiful that you said that, though, that sometimes because we don't feel like we can go all in, we just avoid doing it at all. That hit. That was good. That was very good. because it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but that does mean I would have to put more time to make up for all the time that I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Coach
But
Jamie and I
starting somewhere.
want to challenge you.
Yeah,
in a
we challenge
positive
each
way.
other.
We
Yeah.
challenge you listeners to not go back to default mode after this episode. I stole that from Coach Jamie.
Yes, let's go. Let's go.